Kash, don't forget to tukar the slides to the tourism one once in a while.
Recording in progress.
All right, a very good morning to everyone. Nice Tuesday morning here, not very hot. Well, it's always cloudy here in Kuching. So I just found out that one of our teachers on the show today is also an inventor. And his story is as amazing and as famous movies about teachers. And one that comes to my mind is To Sir with Love. I don't know if you guys have watched it. It featured Sydney Poitier and that beautiful song by Lulu. I'm not going to sing that song, but you can imagine how it's like, or you can Google it if you're too young to know which song I'm talking about. You'll find out more about our inventor teacher in today's session titled The Future of Education. Welcome to the 31st edition of the Tuesday Talk Live by Place Borneo. This is a platform for us to exchange ideas, information, and solutions. Our partner is TV Sarawak, and my name is Mona Abdul Manap. I'll be your host for today. Now, the pandemic has impacted education in a massive way, and parents are also getting burned out because now they have to be involved while also working from home. Teachers are also scrambling to deliver their material as best as they can. So where do we go from here, and how long will this last? How long can we last this way? So this was in fact a question posted yesterday by one of my friends on Facebook. And you can also ask your question. If you're on Zoom, just put them on the Q&A option. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, just type them on the chat box and we'll pick it up from there. Okay, now back to that question. I think I'm going to start with Johan. I'll start with you this morning. The pandemic and how education has evolved and affected students, teachers, and parents in different ways. So you had your thoughts on hybrid classrooms or virtual classrooms. So what do you think of it right now, the current situation?
Good morning, everyone. Morning, Mona. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. Hi, I am Johan from UK English Matters. We've been around since 1999, teaching English in Petaling Jaya. You can follow us on socials at UK English, UK ENG Matters. So, good question that you posed. I think when it comes to education over the last since March last year, it's been a roller coaster, right? Personally, as a parent as well, I have a son who's 7 years old, whose first day of school was actually at the kitchen table. So you can imagine how challenging it would be as a parent. You want to make sure that he has his best, the first experience as enriching as possible. And knowing that when it was your time, it was a completely different experience. And now your children are having a different experience. And you're just worried that, hey, is this sustainable? Is it even possible for him to actually capture what we captured back then? So one thing we learned is education has changed for sure. That we have a lot of parents that came up to us and even said that, you know what, Joanne, let's just consider the last year and this year as a complete just write-off. Many parents have actually done that. And even me as a parent, and even my wife as well, who is the principal of the school, even said that, you know what, let's just keep him alive. Let's keep him as educated, engaged as much as possible. And then we will definitely pick up the ball once we're ready to pick up the ball, whether it be going to a physical school or what we really believe is hybrid learning is actually here to stay. So in actual fact, we've been toying with the idea of hybrid learning isn't as easy as it is, because you would definitely need a lot of stakeholders, everybody to be participating, for hybrid learning to actually work. But it is something definitely that is here to stay, and we have to actually engage with it. So yeah, there you go.
Okay, I like that. And I think we're going to go back to this year and last year being a fluke year, you mentioned.
Fluke year, yeah, a write-off.
What are we going to do with that? You're going to miss out 2 years of, especially in early education for children. So they're going to come back to school not knowing, the ABCs or not knowing how to count. So how are we going to solve that? So we're going to go back to that. But first, I'm going to go to Cikgu Nazmi. So the pandemic has presented a lot of challenges, like what Johanna has mentioned, for education and especially for rural communities and students, right? But Cikgu Nazmi, you revolutionized education per se. Could you perhaps summarize? I know the story was quite long. Could you summarize how you introduced this system called the homework COD? I thought that was very interesting. Tell us a bit about that.
Hello, hi everyone. Thank you, Mona. So my name is Nazmi, and I served like 5 years in the Google school, in a Pedalaman school. SK Long Sukang is located in a deep part of northern region of Sarawak. So homework COD. Yeah. So when they announced the school closure, the first lockdown last year, it was in the middle of school holidays where the teachers, everyone at back home, kampung masing-masing, So and our Ministry of Education, they start to promote a lot of online teaching platform and online learning platforms. They promote a lot of Google Meet and stuff like that. They also promote TV pendidikan and radio pendidikan for those who are unable to do any online learnings. But none of that is option for us here in Dalaman. Back in my place, in the rural community where I'm teaching, you only have electricity from 6:30 to 10:30 or 11 p.m. That's it, with no internet connection. And in that phase, no one have idea how to help these rural students, these pedalaman students. And I asked my school admin, is that they don't know, nobody knows how. None of us able to contact our student in the pedalaman area. And I was devastated because nothing I can do about it. Nothing I can do. And everyone was starting to share we are teaching using Zoom, my kids are here, we're using Telegram to teach, and then there's rumors where cikgu makan gaji buta, you don't teach, what are you doing? During that time, I was helping my neighbor to print out their homeworks. In my area, in my housing area, the kids here learning through WhatsApp. Their teachers send learning materials and worksheets to WhatsApp, and the parents asked me to print it out. So I've been wandering around the area to send homework. That's why I call it homework COD at first. At the same time, I tried to contact with the community in the rural area. What's happened there? What happened is the lockdown inside the rural area, inside the rural zone, is nothing much difference. Everyone is allowed to go anywhere they like, do the daily routines, play within the river, do farmings and stuff, but no one is allowed to go in or out from the village. That's it. That is how those places still stay green zone until this day. Everyone is allowed to visit anyone there. That's it. And the Wakil Kesihatan constantly monitor this area. That's it. And there's a huge barricade, those people who pihak berkuasa who got this place from the outside, where the tempat untuk masuk this place. So I thought, if we can deliver food, because the only person who allowed to go in and out from this zone is the one who in charge to bring the food supply. So I thought, if we able to deliver food, we also able to deliver learning materials. So through a lot of discussion, to a lot of meetings and stuff, we bring this to the PPD. We bring this to we brought this to the Wakil Kesihatan. We brought this even to pihak berkuasa who in charge taking care of the barricade, the post kawalan. They allow us to do it, and we still have to follow a lot of peraturan syarat rules given by the community. So it's a 2-day trip to deliver learning materials to 111 students every week. Friday we managed to send to 52 houses, and Saturday we managed to send to the rest of 13 villages and 1 lodging camp. For the first 4 trips, we were unable to meet all the students because we lost in the jungle. No one knows where's this kid's home. No one. But luckily, there's the community walk by. Okay, you want to go this home? You have to use this trail. This trail will help you to go to this one bridge and all. There's a lot of time we stuck because it's that end. They said the house is here, but there's only big river here. It's no house here. And it was like, and there's one village that looked like Wakanda because no one can see it from outside. It's like how the hell we didn't see this from outside, from the road? Then we come in, there's a big chapel, there's a lot of houses and all. So by the fifth trip, sixth and so on, we managed to meet all our 111 students. And we are sitting at the back of the food truck, with all the sack of rice, with the pumpkins, with the corn, with the fruits and everything, because this is the only truck that allowed to go in and out from the village. And the trip only on Wednesday and Sunday. Wednesday, we're going to hop in their truck to go to the village, and they will help us on the Saturday to go to the other village while they're delivering the foods. They also help us to meet the community there and deliver the learning materials. And then Sunday, they come back to the town. We are using them to come back to the town. And then Monday, Tuesday, other teachers from their home, from their kampong, will send the learning materials to me, and we'll print it out again. So this happens every week.
Wow.
2 days.
That's amazing. Wow, that's something, I think, yeah, that is actually a really amazing thing that you're doing, because you're adapting to what's happening. They don't have electricity. They can't even watch TV or listen to the radio. Even you have the Edu TV. What more to say to be online, right, for virtual? So that's a whole new challenge that you overcome. And I know there's another challenge in terms of economy, but we'll touch on that later. And I thought that your story was quite interesting as well. Now I'm gonna switch back to Dr. Val. You mentioned also about having a system or a structure to how you educate the students, and how that could actually help you transition to a different method of delivering your materials. Would you like to talk about that? You're still muted, Doctor. There you go. Yeah.
Last March, we had some 1,400 students. We're an urban-based language centre, and we suddenly had the choice whether to shut down completely or whether to try and ride the transition. We didn't think that the lockdown was going to last more than 6 weeks. And we decided to have a go. We were lucky in that all the teachers knew where they were going in their curriculum. They knew exactly what lessons were going to be taught. They planned this themselves a term previously. So they knew exactly what materials the students needed, and they knew exactly what they were going to teach. And this was already quite something. And they also knew which assignments were going to be marked and given assessments back to the parents. And there was already a system in place for giving feedback to parents. So because we had all these systems in place, the parents sort of bought in, and we managed to keep going. We only have half our student population, but we managed to keep going because we had certain things in place, and we made sure that our teachers have good internet. To begin with, it was really difficult because teachers were scrambling away with WhatsApp and trying to teach in many different ways. And after a while, we mentored the teachers, we ran workshops, we tried to find out and learn together the best ways of delivering. And we worked out some systems, ways of communicating effectively with parents, ways of giving feedback to parents, and ways of engaging with the students. And that's how we've managed to keep going as a business, if you like, how to be viable at this difficult time. And I resonate a little bit with Cikgu Nazmi, because we've realized that we need to send materials to the students. We have a huge operation, but we're assisted by a courier company and a photocopying business. So we're assisted by these great facilities in town, So we're able to deliver to our 700 students the photocopies they need. And we have students outstation who prior to lockdown used to come for classes on Saturdays. We had students coming from Syrian and Bao, and now we have a student in Peninsula Malaysia. So we've got about 10 students who we use Post Laju with because they've had some contact with the school and didn't want to lose it. So that's how we're operating at present.
Oh, that's amazing. At least, and you guys are also adapting. Now, Dr. Suba, from a higher learning institution, it's probably slightly different, or maybe very different for you guys. Did you want to share with us?
Yeah. Thank you. Hi, Mona. Hi, everyone. Yeah, in the higher learning institution, it's a little bit different here because, we are well equipped technically, and that enabled us to make the transition from the face-to-face or blended. Many of us are blended learning practitioners where we combined face-to-face learning with online support even before the pandemic. So when it happened, when we had to go fully online, I would say in my teaching learning context, it wasn't a big challenge. In fact, I see it as a blessing amidst the pandemic because the pandemic has enabled me to speed up the whole process of equipping ourselves, enhancing technical knowledge, and then look at other sound pedagogical strategies, how best we can deliver the courses online to students. Yeah, and the university has played an important role because while waiting for the announcements, we also thought at first when the pandemic started in March, our students were actually on the 1 week semester break, mid-semester break, and we thought they will come back and we will continue, but it went on and on. But in between, what the university has done is provided various courses for us, and then we quickly then self-directed our learning as well. There were so many resources available. So like we had to buy a video cam, get all those technical equipment, and then look at the options available and look at all the bits and pieces, how familiarize ourselves with the technical equipment, what are the things that we can do to engage the students. Very important to engage with the students online. And the university also made us a way to find out what's the students' technical access to technical devices and also internet devices. So offered students who have challenges in relation to this, offered them to come and stay on campus, but of course following the SOP, the quarantine and all were followed, were adhered to, and then they were on campus with us, those students who really had big challenges with technical and internet access. So we had them with us, and the rest of the students, we opened up various channels of communication depending, some of them have to go to telecenters and so on because they stay in Rumah Panjang or the long houses. So we as educators, we opened up various channels of communication from, telephone calls, SMS, WhatsApp, and so on, to keep in touch with our students. And I would say it's been, for me, because I'm in the higher learning institution, it's been a pleasant journey so far. But of course, we still need some amount of face-to-face teaching and learning. A lot we have learned as educators, and students have learned as well the benefit of remote learning or full online learning. And I hope in the future it will be a future beyond normal, where we combine what the best practices from face-to-face teaching and learning and the best practices from full online teaching and learning, and then the future is going to be beyond normal.
I like that, the future beyond normal. Whatever that means now, because we don't know what to expect in the future, or not now. And I noticed that both of you and Dr. Val, you mentioned about training the teachers so that they know what to do in terms of virtual teaching. And when we talk about training teachers, yesterday during the rehearsal, you guys talked about how the method of teaching and how in Malaysia or in Sarawak, I think in the whole of Malaysia, it's more teacher centric. So the teachers are seen as the imparter of knowledge. Dr. Val, you mentioned that, and how that should change in terms of the learning process. And the teachers are not supposed to be the imparter of knowledge, but they're supposed to facilitate education. Dr. Vel, did you want to talk a bit more about that and how you see that in Malaysia?
Well, when I first came to Sarawak, I was teaching in a rural secondary school, and we had something like 40 to 50 students in a class. And I could easily see that the easiest way of teaching was for the teacher to be at the front and talk at the students. And in Kuching, when I started to have young teachers coming to join us at our centre, the teachers still feel that they are the imparters of knowledge. They are meant to talk at the students. And I've had to kind of try and shift a perception of themselves as teachers to thinking they're there to draw out knowledge and elicit and find out how much the students know. And that questioning techniques are so important in lesson planning, and question techniques and using your students' names to get real interaction going and getting the students to think in the class. This is much easier to do when you've got a smaller classroom of, say, 20 to 25 students. And in some ways, if you train your students to use breakout rooms, it can be done online. But it's not always, the teacher can't be everywhere at once, and it requires a lot of structure and planning. But perhaps that's the way for the future, that teachers need to rethink their roles and the way they perform. But it's going to need a shift in the way the classrooms are in the public sector, I think.
Mona, do you think I could ask Dr. Val a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
About this, Dr. Val, you mentioned something really interesting. I want to bring this up. For airline pilots, like how we learn, believe it or not, it's 100% on the individual. So we have this thing called the computer-based training, where they say, okay, congratulations, pilots, captains, first officers, great, good for you. You are now elected to fly an aeroplane. So please sit in front of a computer for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Follow a program, 100% is called CBT, computer-based training. Now, as adults, I'm guessing 18, 19 above, it's easier. I'm just wondering if there was an education or a program or lesson plan that was specific to that, for children. Would CBT work for children? If not, why? Dr. Val, that's on you.
I think what you're describing is something quite lonely. I can see how it works with airline pilots, because they have a relationship with a control tower, and they have to make decisions on their own, or maybe with their co-pilots. I'm not quite into your industry. But I think humans are social animals, and students benefit from being together and sharing ideas and collaborating together. And I think it's the whole social dimension of school that we're needing to recreate in digital classrooms, and have students enjoy interacting, have students enjoy debating, have students doing readers' theatre together. That's what we really want. And to some extent, it can be recreated through WhatsApp groups. And you can see WhatsApp is very strong in rural areas. And maybe Cikgu Nazmi can say something about that. But I can see that, I've got children who spend 4 hours in a classroom on a Saturday, and sometimes they don't want to leave when it's time to stop. You can still see their little faces wanting to chat and party together. So there is this great need to be social and have common ground to share, and engage in curiosity and things that they love. So there is that. But I'm talking from a very luxurious standpoint. I'm managing a classroom where 99% of my children are in Kuching and they're on computers and they've got reasonable internet. My heart goes out to people in Cikgu Nazmi's school.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thanks, Dr. Vel. And thanks, Johan, for bringing that up. I think that's interesting, CBT, computer-based training. And I think that works better for adults because we go through that for our own training as well. And it gives us the freedom to actually access information at our own time instead of having to be live online at a specific time and you cannot miss it. So perhaps that's a different discussion that we should have about CBT. Now, Cikgu Nazmi, you mentioned about the roles of teachers as well changing because we were talking about the role of teachers as being imparters of knowledge and how that should change. And you mentioned also you thought the same thing, although you had a different input on that. Would you like to share with us?
Thank you, Mona. I'm actually agree with Dr. Val. Teaching is not just simply talking, delivering stuff, knowledge, information. It's about making kids curious, making them want to know more. Okay. Teaching will only die when we stop being excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I really want skill set that I think required for these new teachers, for example, is I want them to know that they have the autonomy to do more. They have the autonomy to do more beyond the classrooms. Among teachers nowadays, they have these new trends where they come out with innovations and they proceed taking the innovation to competitions, and then they won gold, they won bronze and stuff like that. They go to the national level, international level, and then that's it. Their innovation didn't comes back to the community. We want the teachers to have this awareness that we innovate because we want to solve problems. That's what I see quite lacking among these new teachers nowadays. Number one, they're not brave enough to do something out of norms. For example, this pandemic, it's required a lot of out of norms initiative beyond the classrooms. And I see they have fresh ideas. Oh, I come up with this innovation. But none of them coming back to the community. Once they are posted to a new school, even the community doesn't know what innovation they're coming with. It doesn't solve the problems, and it's only stay on them. So I want teachers to know that they have the autonomy to do more. They have autonomy to go out from the class to do more, and they have the autonomy to do networkings. And have good networkings with all the NGOs from outside and everyone and the things, because it's not only about money, but it's also to spread awareness. For in my situation, I'm a rural schools. Okay, rural schools, most of people doesn't know what happened in the rural schools in the pedalaman area. Okay, doing networking, you can get a lot of benefits. You can do a lot of works with NGO where we can share benefits from each other, and we do all this to help students, to help our kids. And they should do networkings. They should have connection with the community itself. We must know that, we must realize that their parents know their children better than us. A lot of teachers, they realize that, oh, I can do this even without consulting the parents. That's when like Dr. Val said, simply talking, delivering the information to the student, that is not learning. Teaching is know your student well, know which things suit them, because this is why we always wanted to get out from the exam-oriented system. We want something that really suit the students, because every student is our priority. Not all students able to into debate, into sport, each of them have their own specialties. I always compare my student to like X-Men, X-Men, because each of them have their own abilities. And our teacher and us, the teachers, is our job to unlock their abilities. So basically for me, this teacher have this skill set to do networking, to do upscaling the project, to innovate, to help. And most important of all, the motivations. Without good motivations, it's like keeping, because it's easy to be demotivated here, especially in the pedalaman, in the rural area. Imagine you have your loved one, you have your wife, kids, but you only able to make a phone call once a month. You have to like drive 4-5 hours to the nearest town just to make a phone call, just to make sure they're okay. It's understandable if this one teacher able to get demotivated, but it's not easy to help them to get posted to new school because there's a lack of teachers, kekurangan cikgu right now here in a lot of rural areas. And also new teachers none of them want to be posted in this area. So we need to understand that all these new skill sets, and I think somewhere in maybe IPG or any other teacher training institute, they are working not only to help new teachers develop their pedagogical abilities, skills, but also all this new stuff, networking, upscaling the project, innovate to solve the problem, to solve real problem, and motivations.
I think I like that, and maybe I'm not sure if we have time later to talk a bit more about this problem of demotivated teachers, especially in the rural schools. And that's something that I didn't realize was actually a big thing or could be an issue. But now I'm thinking of it. If you go somewhere where you're so far away from home, you can't even call out. You don't even have internet. You can't even use your phone. You can't go to the gym like what Cikgu Nazmi says, or go for coffee with your friends. And so I can see how that could actually just eat into you, especially if you're the type who likes, to go out and have a city lifestyle, I would say. So that's something that's interesting, and maybe that could be a challenge that we should look at. And how do we manage that so that our rural education is slightly better? Dr. Suba, we have a question from Marcus Gatuman to you. If you were to suggest to teachers how to reduce being too teaching focused online, but rather focus on student learning, what would you suggest to them?
Yeah, that's a thank you, Mana. That's a very good question from Mr. Marcus. I'm a big fan of education reformer John Dewey. He said that you cannot teach today the same way you did yesterday to prepare students for tomorrow. So I believe that the goal of teaching is actually students learning. So the focus is on students learning, not we shot sendiri, what we call in Malay, shot sendiri, teaching and teaching and teaching, and we forget about whether the students are actually learning. So what is very, very important is designing activities and tasks that enable the learners to learn. So when I'm planning for my lessons, for example, I don't think so much about how I'm going to talk, what I'm going to say, and things like that. I focus on what kind of activities and tasks can I design to help my learners learn or acquire this knowledge. I think that should be the focus. And if we do that, if a teacher is able to do that, that's why the pedagogical knowledge is very, very important. No, it's not so much of the talking, but thinking like what Cikgu Nazmi said, think out of the box, like what he has done. Think out of the box. Think of activities that are engaging, like what Dr. Val said. We need to engage with the students. Create the thirst for knowledge, the need that they want to learn something. Make them feel it. And the trick is like I said just now, in designing those kind of activities and also tasks and also assessments. So I'm a big fan of alternative assessment. because I work a lot with the rubrics, in designing rubrics. One of the disadvantage or challenges in using alternative assessment, not the typical standardized timed impromptu assessment where everybody go into a hall, sit down, here's pen, paper, do the questions. I use a lot of alternative assessments with my students, and accompanied with to address the scoring. To make the scoring more reliable and more valid, you need to come up with rubrics. So these kind of assessments will help learners, like what Cikgu Nazmi said just now. It depends on the kind of task that you're designing, to make students think how to solve problems, and problems that innovations and all that will help develop the community. So so the goal of teaching is students learning, not the teaching.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing. And I just saw Cikgu Nasmi posted on Twitter, his one of his students did his assignment on speaking and writing. And so he did it like a weather forecast on TV, and that's how the speaking element comes in. And whatever he wrote, he read it out. So then he did that. The mom and the brother helped to video him doing a weather forecast under the rain, under an umbrella while it was raining. So it was saying, as you can see here, it's raining behind me and the clouds are gray above. And so it was really fun. And that's how you create, enthusiasm for learning. And that's how he learned. So I was quite impressed with that student, in fact. And I guess you have to thank the teachers for actually inciting that in them. When you talk about alternative assessment and a different way of assessing instead of just exams, the typical assessment, maybe that works for the higher learning institution. How about younger kids? And maybe Johan, you can share with us, how do you deal with kids? They're sometimes like a mind of their own, and there's totally different.
They will be. I mean, to be fair, Mona, so I'm not a teacher. My wife is a principal, and we've been focusing on the kids at the early ages, 4, 5, 6, for especially since lockdown, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not as easy, but it's not as difficult as it is as well. So I'll give you an example. When we started, we did a course, like Saturday morning course online for children. We started about 2 hours, right? Mm-hmm. And we realized that we started at 1 hour, and then we realized that, hey, even the parents are coming back to us saying 1 hour is not enough. And we're like, why? And then I think it's not just the way we actually do the courses, but there are two angles to this. From a parent's perspective, they want their Saturday mornings to do other stuff. So what they try and do is, we don't encourage this, is they take the kids, they put them in front there. Okay, you sit here, you listen to the teacher, I'll be back in 1 hour. So it gives let's be fair. We actually have a majority of parents who want to do this, right? But then you have the other spectrum of parents who are like, no, I want to sit down with my child. Hey, if you got the ability and the luxury, please, by all means, right? And when they sit in front of the computer and they realize for 1 hour it's really not enough, but it ultimately boils down to what the teacher is teaching, how the teacher is interacting with the children. We are fortunate to keep the student numbers small per class. So we started with about 8 to 10 per class, and we dropped it to about 4 to 5, and we saw that it actually became better. So we separated 2 classes, right? Same timing, we separated the classes, and we realized at the younger levels, they really wanted to be heard, and they love that when they're playing with games, that when they see that there's some gamification part of it, and we actually give them real world scores and real world prizes. For example, they can really win an iPad, for example. You see them light up, so we shouldn't be doing this, but we have the luxury of doing that. We say that, hey, okay, do this today, and you get 5 points at the end of the the month, you win an iPad, for example. So then we realize the children need to have something that they can look forward to. And we say that when you come back to school, be doing this. And believe me when I say this, right? We went from online to offline to hybrid to online. Now we're offline, now we're online again. We realized we were scared. We were thinking that do we want to open the school and let people come back, especially when they allowed us back then? And 90% or more of all parents said, yes, we want the children back in class. And we're like, okay, all right. So that's when we realized that. I give you an example. In one classroom, if we had, say, 15 students for the higher levels, we only had probably 1 student or 2 students whose parents said, no, please don't go back to school. The following week, they all came back. So I'm a big advocate of like, hey, you know what? Classroom learning is the, where we want to go back to, but how do we get hybrid to actually help for those who can't, for example? So again, to answer the question, for children, it's really about engaging them and keeping them excited and making sure we can find the right time that we don't bore them to death. And we realize that 2 hours is more than enough.
Max.
Anything more than 2 hours,
I thought it would have been
hour.
shorter than that, like half an hour or 10 minutes or something.
We started with 1 hour. And then for 1 hour, we're now pushing it to, we say, okay, fine, we're doing the course for 1.5 hours, but I think we're going to cut it there. Because, and of course, there's breaks in between, right? But anything more than that, the children like below the ages of 8, 9, they won't sustain their attention.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting to know, and not, knowing that kids actually want to be heard. As young as 0.5 years old, you usually want to talk to them, and you don't want to hear whatever they say. You think it's just rubbish.
They're smarter than us. Believe me, I am negotiating my 7-year-old what time he has to go to shower. I'm telling you now, it's a negotiation process, and they're very smart, and they win most of the time.
I can believe you on that one. Dr. Suba, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just would like to say that that's called audience effect. The children love audience effect, not just children, even university students. They like to showcase, so that presentation, whether it's online, they put their presentations on YouTube, record on YouTube, viewable by everybody and anybody, anywhere in the world. So that audience effect is something that's something that we seriously need to consider.
Wow, that's amazing. The audience, I think that applies to all adults. Some adults want it more than others, and they just want to be on the limelight every single time in the limelight. We've got one comment from, Dr. Vel, do you want to say something?
Yes, I'd like to revive the question that we asked, but we never really answered, which comes from Cikgu Nazmi. How do we motivate rural teachers, and how do we lift them up? Because I think we're getting into a very dangerous digital divide, and urban children and urban parents are going to be in a totally different league to rural students at the end of 2 or 3 years, unless we can do more to support rural teachers. And is it something that we need to think about what headmasters could be doing? How do we build relationships between rural communities and schools?
Cikgu Nazmi, do you have any ideas on that one?
In the term of this, actually, there's a lot of organization and NGO and stuff. Even us, we actually working on this, and right now we are focusing on the new teachers, freshly graduated teachers. What we do is we create a lot of workshop. We create a lot of to spread the awareness. For your information, all this lackness of facilities, electricities, my phone is basically just an alarm clock there, Because all these challenges is actually those teachers who get posted here, they slowly able to adapt to the situations. Like most of us, we don't have any stationery shop here. We don't have any place to go for sources for online stuff and all. But we slowly develop the skills where we able to do things from whatever we found around us. For this example, in this one topic, and I think it's year 3, we were asked to teach about rules. Rules, okay? And one of the things that we need to put in our lesson is swimming pools. But my kids never see swimming pools before. What did I do? I took 20 plastic bags,
Mm.
blue plastic bags, and I put it, and I arrange all the benches there so it looks like swimming pools.
Mm.
So this what happened to the pedalaman teachers, the rural teachers. They develop these skills where they make do with whatever they found, and they put it in with their can-do attitude.
Mm.
You know what happened after the lessons? One of the kids said, "Teacher, when can we make sandcastle?" Now we are in the swimming pool right now. We cannot but we can swim, right? Usually, if we can swim, we can make sandcastle near the place where we swim. No. So here I want to tell you that even before the pandemic, there's a huge gap between the urban students and the rural, and urban schools and the rural schools, urban communities with the rural communities. A huge gap. My first day teaching there, I was going to teach them about withdrawing money from ATM machine, and they don't know what is ATM machine. Imagine that. Now during the pandemic, boom, we have to upgrade to online studies, or online learning, online teaching. And for us, all this lack of facilities and stuff, it doesn't actually the main challenge for us here. The main challenge of us here is the motivation in the teachers.
Mm.
We do a lot of workshop to convince the teachers. If you ask to get posted to a new school from here, who are going to take care of these students?
Mm.
New teachers keep being posted to this place because no one wants to be here.
Mm.
And you will be selected to be here. And what we do in our workshop, we do this, we make sure that they don't have this culture shock. Because once you get there, usually you hang out at Starbucks after 10 p.m. Now you open your door, boom, totally darkness, nothing there. So we want them to be ready. Because during our practical time, we get posted before a teacher, we get posted in my school, literally in front of a mall. My school, literally in front of a mall. My principal said, okay, after this assessment, you can go for karaoke lah. You crash the stuff, you can go karaoke lah. But 2017, boom, I get posted in a rural area. After 6 p.m., nothing. After 6 p.m., nothing. And we have to drive 5 to 6 hours just to go to the school.
Mm.
So what I think one of the way we can help these teachers is to prepare them. Maybe in their teacher training course. I have friends that somewhere in Rajang or somewhere, when the water is up, the crocodile will simply lay on the shore, just lepak there. So we don't want these new teachers come with fresh ideas, they come with innovation and stuff. We don't want them to get culture shock. We want them to be ready. We want them to know they have the autonomy to work with a lot of people around them, not only by themselves. I think this is one way how we can help these rural teachers. Prepare a lot of workshop. Maybe in the teacher training institute, we can prepare a course just for them to be ready for any kind of situations.
Mm.
And for me, yeah, I think that's one of the way.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Cikgu Nazmi. And I guess perhaps that needs a whole different discussion on its own, and we won't probably come up with a solution today. But I think just to recognize that it is a challenge and it's something that we need to think about for rural teachers, motivation. I just like to go back to what Johan said just now. You have to create the excitement among the students and want them to actually stay online or in the classroom. And that's also, it could be also a problem for rural schools because some of the students are forced to help their parents, for example, at the paddy fields, or, have to tend to their orchard and fruits and vegetables and stuff for money. So poverty is a real thing. And so this is one of the questions that I had for the speakers as well. So which one comes first? Should we actually solve the poverty issue and make sure everyone has enough money to put food on the table so that they don't think about the basic needs, and then you think about education, or should education come first, and then when they're smarter they get better jobs, and then they can afford a better lifestyle. So Dr. Suba, you mentioned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I like that, so maybe we'll start with you, and we'll go with the rest after this.
Yeah, Maslow has mentioned in hierarchy of needs, the basic needs need to be addressed first. But I think even without Maslow, we as human beings, especially teachers, when we have students in our class, we can understand that certain students, are not able to concentrate in class, or do not pay attention, or not motivated to learn, and there could be a lot of other issues related to it. We don't know whether they have had food at home. Do they have a comfortable, did they have enough sleep the night before coming to school? So these are issues that are related to addressing basic needs. So the basic needs, I strongly believe, have to be addressed before students even can start thinking about learning, acquiring knowledge and things like that.
Thanks, Dr. Suba. And I want to go back to Cikgu Nazmi, and he has a really great story about how he helped the community, the whole community, to make sure that his students are able to go to class, to their classes. Cikgu, would you like to share with us your invention story?
Okay, so it is like between the periuk nasi, the community, and education, right? So this what happened. This is back in 2018. I got posted in the mid of 2017, and this happened in 2018. And I was told that this happened like almost every year. Usually by the end of January up to the early of April, we have what happened is we have attendance issue. A lot of kids doesn't come to the school. And we like, what? Since I was a new teacher back then, I was like, why? How? And then all the seniors just like, it's the season. It's the season where the student will follow their parents, their grandparents to the paddy field to do the seedings. To do the seedings. That's the season. To do the seedings, they are going to use this one stick called tugal. They're going to make a hole on the paddy fields, and then they have to bend over and put all the paddy seed on each of the holes. And one square of the paddy field will take like up to 3 weeks if it be done by 2 people, which is quite long. The standard of one paddy field is like half of standard football field. Not the local football field on your housing area. It's like the standard football stadium. So most of the parents of the student here, they are working outside. They are in the Kuching, in Miri and stuff like that. So they are raised by the grandparents. The grandparents are very, very old, like 80, 70, and these are the people who in charge taking care of the paddy field. And they have no choice but to bring the grandchildren along. But January, February, March, April is a very, very important time period in the school where there's a lot of activities, sport, bulan kebudayaan, there's language week, language carnival, a lot of stuff happening here. So it's very, very crucial for them to be in the school at that time. So what we do, like I said just now, we want these new teachers to understand they have the autonomy to do something out of norms. So my school admin allow us to ask us to come up with something to solve this problem. So what we do, me and few of the kids, we invent something, we call it kato. Kato is a farming device, farming tools. It matches from the stick, the tugal stick, and then there's a bicycle handbrake, and then there's a few bottles with hose where if we poke a hole on the ground, we simply press the handle brake, and then all the seed will drop drop down to the halls. So the grandparents don't have to like bend over time to time because one of the reason said, I cannot go to school. My grandpa sakit belakang. Grandpa had a back ache. Cannot go to the schools. So we actually reduced the time from 3 weeks to manage one paddy field into half weeks, and be done with a single person. By the end and we are allowed to do a test field using the paddy field of the villages. Okay, so this is where the works between the teachers and the community comes. I allow you to go this and this and this, you can do this. So we want these new teachers to know that they can do connection, they can have connection with the community, they can have collaboration with the community, they have the power. There's no rule stating that you cannot do this with this. No. So we want our new teachers to know that, okay, these new teachers have great ideas, and we want them to know they can do a lot of upscaling with the community and all. By the end of the project, we give the project to the community. And now it's not our innovation anymore. It's our innovation, but now it simply belongs to the community, and we simply revolutionize the way they do the farmings. And then the benefits come to the student. They come to the school. So ask me to, between the periuk nasi of the community and the education, I think they both go together. It's up to the teachers to find the solution. Teachers need to know that it's not only their job to teach in the class, to talk and stuff like that. I'm sorry, my baby crying.
It's okay.
It's also their job to figure out how to help the problems. My students have this kind of problem. They're unable to go to the school to help.
Wow. That's really amazing. And you're not just a teacher, you are also, playing the role of the government here in helping the economy of the local community. I would say that's the role of the government, to provide that so that they can send their children to school. But in your case, you've taken the initiative to actually do that yourself, and we really applaud you and thank you so much for doing that for the kids. That's really amazing. And I'm just amazed that you actually invented this out of the need for having your kids in school, and so you invented something for the grandparents and the parents to have that. Now I've got one question here, and I know we're almost towards the end of the show, but we've got a lot of questions. I'm going to pick one from Joseph Ramanair. What are the views of those on the panel on the need and level of digital literacy among educators? Dr. Val, you were squinting. Did you have a thought on that?
I think people can start with zero and learn. As long as you've got a desire to learn, educators can overcome any problems in digital literacy. I think the more you talk and collaborate with your colleagues, I don't believe that people over a certain age can't be digitally literate. And I think we just have to be ready to experiment, to try things out, not to be scared to make mistakes. So that's my take on that.
And Johan, you do a lot of these hybrid classrooms. What do you think of this?
Yeah, you know what? We actually had to stand down about 2 or 3 teachers who just didn't want to get into the whole digital literacy thing. I won't lie. I mean, this is the reality of it, right? We got about 20 teachers, and out of that, 2 or 3 said, "No, Johan, Nas, you know what? It's been 1.5 years. Every 2-3 months, I'll just message them. Would you want to come back? I'll teach you. I'll personally be there, sitting down with you in the classroom. I'll show you how Zoom works." So no, I've been doing it for 50 years. I know how. I get it. I appreciate it. And I asked her, what if you just delivered and we did the whole technicalities and blah blah. So the bottom line is, there are people, majority, 80-90% of our teachers said, yes, we're going for it. it, and there were a lot of hiccups along the way, but they learned through it, and now they're enjoying it. Now they actually like the idea that they're teaching online, so they don't have to actually come to school earlier, wear makeup, etc., etc. Now it's just like pick up, wear a blazer, and they're on, which is good. And even the parents appreciate that as well. That's why I'm really now getting more and more into become an advocate for hybrid. However, these are the urbans, those who actually have computer access. Will there be a bigger digital divide moving forward? Let's not hope on what the government or what everyone's going to help us. Long story made short, I didn't really go through with SPM because it was just me and my mom. I came from a single parent. I grew up in the flats. I had absolutely no money. So at Form 3, at Form 2, I had, my mom was like, what, it's not that I don't know what I can do with you, but we kind of need work. So I started working, like literally, selling computer diskettes. You don't know what diskette is, you're too young, but I learned how to sell. Really? Okay, well, selling computer diskettes. So that's why from my journey to actually become a pilot went through radio, television, sing songs, whatever I could do to get to that level. And that's why I do a lot of inspirational talks to tell children that, listen, just because you're having hardship now doesn't mean that you can't get what you want. Now, how do we translate this to the masses? This is where broadcast comes in. You got to get radio, television, not just teaching you, but showing you, maybe having guest people like me or other people like Cikgu Nazmi saying, listen, guys, this is what we've done before. We didn't have a silver spoon in our mouth. No. But we need to get more of these motivational talks throughout the young ones right now. Sorry, my daughter is screaming, but yeah, so I can relate with you, Cikgu Nazmi. But having said that, if we can get more of these programs and bring up the mental health of the 4, 5, 6 years old, you think they don't have stress? They do. My son has so much stress when it comes to how am I going to win my Roblox game? How am I going to convince my dad to buy more Roblox, for example? So they have their fair levels of stress. And I just one thing to close off. I also want to share that. My son is the complete opposite of me. I'm the extrovert. He's the introvert. However, when he talks about stuff that he likes, like his computer game, OMG, you can see that it just lights up. So how do we translate that into the classroom and get what, like show and tell, right? We know the whole show and tell thing, right? So maybe an idea is we don't give them the topic. You all pick what you want to talk about, and then you will see this flourish. Something we learned last weekend.
Wow, amazing. But you also mentioned that, yes, you guys are slightly luckier because, students in the urban area, they have all what they need. They have a decent internet line, they have the computers and stuff. So in future, we might have more. This is also a question from Shasitaran RK from YouTube. So there'll be more marginalized students in the future. And this is going back to this year and last year being a free year, right? So you're going to miss out. Some of the students are going to miss out more than others. So how are we going to overcome that? And what are we going to do about that? Dr. Suba, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, that's a very tough question. But I think a lot we have learned during this pandemic, and how we are going to move forward from here is extremely important. Like what Cikgu Nazmi said just now, collaboration, networking is extremely important. 21 years ago, UNIMAS worked together with various NGOs. We brought Pentium 5 to Barrio. Researchers from UNIMAS, we worked together with NGOs, and we brought Pentium 5 to the schools in Barrio, both the primary schools and primary school and the Barrio secondary school. We equipped the school, and then we trained the students, we trained the teachers, and we even worked together in building a telecenter in Barrio. And you can see the benefits, how then the community took over and they are managing it. So a lot of these kind of collaborations, networking have to happen. So that we can narrow the digital divide. We cannot completely take away everything and then provide the best for everybody, but we try. We continue to strive to connect, urban area, rural area, and make education accessible to all. I strongly believe that passionate educators who are open to learning. Nazmi said, you cannot have a very closed mindset coming in as a teacher. You must be open, flexible, creative, innovative. Selection of teachers who are going to go into schools, very, very important. We cannot put any Tom, Dick, and Harry in school to become teachers. You need teachers who are passionate. Cikgu Nazmi, I too was posted right after I haven't even gone through graduation. I finished my final year together with my friends. We did education. We were all posted to Sabah and Sarawak. I was posted in an outskirt school in Sarawak. But the passion to acquire knowledge, the passion to teach is the one that keeps a person going wherever you are posted to, you know. So I then moved from school. I went on to teach in university and then went on to pursue my studies and then, you know, in the higher institution now. But I'm really passionate about education. So we need people who are really passionate with education, like Cikgu Nazmi, wherever you are, let it be Mars or Pluto or on Earth, you know what to do within the resources that you have. Make full use of the resources that you have. Learn, always continue to learn. The day that a teacher stops learning is the day a teacher should stop teaching. And
Wow.
with that,
Yeah, that's a great one. We were talking about how more students are gonna struggle when they start going back to school after this whole thing is over, and they sort of missed out the first 2 years of school. Some of them. Dr. Val, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, I'm just aware, by going back to my husband's rural area, how important learning to read is. Because I've tracked 1 or 2 children who dropped out of school, and they dropped out because they lost confidence in attending school because they couldn't read. And thinking about this now, I can see that the number of children who may not have learned how to read because of this transition, because of problems in kindergartens operating, and because parents don't have reading books at home to help them with their reading, or parents just don't know how to teach reading. And I think we need to be aware of this. We need to perhaps think about remedial centres, remedial learning. Perhaps we need to think about getting some nice books into some of the challenging areas where kids could be motivated to learn to read. I think this is going to be we need some kind of mission to help these kind of lost kids who may not have picked up on a reading habit.
Johan, any thoughts on this one, on this big year?
You know, I think that whatever happened last year and this year is like, I want to say it is what it is, but I'm also another optimist that, you know what, you can still make the best of what we can do. It's just that the challenge should be for those who, when we pick up again very, very soon. I mean, some are saying October, some are saying November, some are saying next year. We will come to a point where majority at least, will go back to school. And if they don't go back to school, some of them will have access on the internet. And I think the rural areas would actually be back in school as opposed to the internet. That's just me. I really hope so as well. And then it would be the first 3 to 6 months of that going back to school, of the teachers really stepping up their game and, you know, really pushing what they need to push to try and bring them up again. However, I think that not just the industry, but I think society as a whole will actually empathize and also appreciate that, hey, I think, the level of results, for example, if they're not as great over the next 1-2 years, I think we all kind of know why. So, more of this and we should be okay. I give it maybe my take is by the end of this year, we should see some majority of at least the rules going back to school. And by next year, we have people back in school again. That's my take on it.
Thanks, Johan. I like that. I think society also needs to be part of this recovery period, knowing that you can't just leave it all to the teachers and the parents. And I think perhaps like NGOs, maybe a more directed approach for education or projects on education could actually be encouraged. And to actually help with this, I think it will be a recovery or remedial learning, like what Dr. Val was saying. So this could actually hasten the learning process, which they've missed out on for 2 years, right? So I think this is something that everyone should think about, not just the teachers or the parents. Cikgu Nazmi, how about your rural kids? How do you foresee that happening? What's going to happen in the future with them? after these 2 years?
They're saying that it takes a village to raise a child. So that's what we learn from these 2 years. The parents and the community, they see our efforts to go house to house. We lost in the jungle. We track them out. We ends up in the river. The car stucks and stuff like that. Behavior and stuff. What happened is now we have great bonds between the schools and the community. What happened now? The teachers are no longer need to go house to house. The community, they prepare learning stations. They have Long Sukang is a central where students, kids from 13 villages and one lodging camp came to Long Sukang to study. After they to deliver and inspire a lot of schools all around the country. What they do now, they prepare learning station. They change, they transform, they upgrade all hut pondok lama. They use chapels. They use this this one mother used their living room as a learning station, and they equip this learning station with electricity, with tables, with chair, with board. They even prepare food for the child to come twice a week, and they even prepare one wakil kesihatan representative from the wakil kesihatan to monitor the SOP and stuff. And they said, okay, teachers of Long Sukang, you've done well, you've done a great job. Now you don't have to come to all the house to meet one by one. Now we open this twice a week. If the school close again, we do this. Boom. And then the KPM noticed this. They noticed, and then by the end of 2020, they come out with new learning mode. They call it the Offside learning mode. The student and the community works together to help to prevent the learning loss. Because like what John said, these 2 years is been affected us like crazily. The learning loss can be seen clearly. So one of the great things we see because of this pandemic is we see the huge collaboration between the community and the teachers and the schools. They build a pondok equipped with electricity. Wait for someone to help us like thousands. Okay, so this is what I see. We are together here to solve real problem. And when I was there to teach them, see this kids still setia with us to study with us, even all this hardship and all, it touches our hearts, you know. And I believe these new teachers, they need this kind of motivation. They need to feel this for them to really appreciate teaching and learning. We want, this is a soul crafting. Kids see how the parents and the teachers work together just for them to study, to learn. This is soul crafting, and it's really, really more than like what Dr. Sauba said just now. This is really more than just simply do the talk, deliver the notes, deliver the material, deliver the information. This is way more greater than that. This is teaching. This is education. This is literally soul crafting. And imagine these kids grow up. We call this the My Sejahtera kids. You know, in our day, we are the MySpace kid, the My Sejahtera kids. They have the opportunity to see the hardship, that the sacrifice made by the parents and the teachers just for them to learn, to study. And I believe one day they will have this many kind of morality. They will develop good skill. Maybe one day they're able to do networking on their own with help their own communities there. One day, who knows? But this is really, I think being a teacher is really a blessing for me, for this, especially for this 5 years and working in the pedalaman and the rural areas. That's it for me.
Wow. Thank you, Cikgu Nazmi. I think that's really, really motivational, and I'm not surprised why you're doing so well in Long Sukang. And I wish that all the schools there could actually have someone like you, at least just one person there would actually help them a lot. And I'm pretty sure they've got a lot of teachers like you as well in all these others, long punya sekolah. I know some of them as well. We've come to the end of the show. I don't want to drag on for too long. We've got one question from Dr. Ashley, but I think we have to skip that. Dr. Suba, that's your husband. He can ask you the question at home, I think. Sorry, Dr. Ashley, but we've run out of time, and I think we have to end right here. And I love all the stories, and I think we've uncovered some challenges or issues that we need to actually put our attention to the next 2 years, perhaps, to solve this problem as a community, not just as educators, not just as parents. So I think that's one of the key points that I got from this talk today. So thank you to all the speakers. Thank you for being with us and sharing your ideas, your insights on the current education state of our country. Thank you to the audience for joining us on Zoom, on YouTube, on Facebook, and thank you to our partner TV Sarawak. Now, we have our next session in another 2 weeks. So until then, stay safe at home. And if you haven't got your vaccination yet, please do get them and make sure you complete your double dose. All right. And in the meantime, have a good day ahead. See you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. See you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mona.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Vel, Dr. Soba, Johan. Thank you, Mona.
See you, Cikgu Nazmi.
Bye, Cikgu Nazmi. Keep it up.
Thank you.